Hello everyone. Tonight we're diving into a story that'll make your skin crawl and leave you wondering. Could you survive a single day in ancient Greece? Before you snuggle up in your blanket and drift off, hit that like button. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. It's awesome to know who's joining us from all corners of the globe. Picture this. You wake up, not on your cozy mattress with a Bluetooth speaker humming your favorite chill playlist, but on a scratchy straw mat that smells like sweat and rancid olive oil. Dim light seeps through a narrow slit in a stone wall, and you hear a low moan from somewhere in the shadows. Welcome to the world of the forgotten women of ancient Greece. Prostitutes living on the razor's edge between survival and oblivion, scorned yet desired. This isn't a tale of goddesses lounging on Mount Olympus. This is about real flesh and blood women, crushed by society, but clawing their way through life. Feel your body aching, not from a killer gym session, but because you spent last night serving clients until dawn. Your legs are heavy, your throat parched from the smoke of flickering torches. You're in Athens, 5th century BCE, in a slum near the Piraeus port. Narrow alleys reek of rotting fish and urine, alive with the shouts of drunken sailors and the barking of stray dogs. You don't have a real name anymore, just a nickname the clients gave you, like Myron or Thais, something catchy to remember you by. You drag yourself up, your thin chiton tunic torn at the shoulder, exposing sunburned skin and bruises. Forget concealer or Instagram filters. Here, you're fighting to survive the day, not to look pretty. You step out of your cramped room, the dirt floor freezing under your bare feet. Outside, the brothel madam, her face wrinkled like a dried olive, is screaming at another girl for spilling a jug of wine. You idiot. Want me to sell you to the slave traders, she snarls, her voice raspy as a crow's caw. This is your world. A place where women like you have no choices. Most girls in the brothel are slaves, sold as children, or women who once had families, but were abandoned by husbands or orphaned by war. A rare few chose this life, but don't kid yourself. Choice here means picking between starvation and selling your body. Ancient Greek society worshiped freedom, but only for men. You? Your property, a tool, a plaything. Imagine sitting on a rickety wooden stool, choking down a crust of stale bread while your stomach growls. Next to you, a young girl named Irene, her face smudged with dirt, whispers, "Last night, I met a sailor from Crete. He swore he'd buy my freedom, take me away." You smirk not because you're cruel, but because you've heard that promise 1,000 times. Men come here, drunk and full of vows, then vanish at sunrise, leaving you with lies and a handful of measly drachmas. But don't think this is just a sob story. These women, despised by society, have a strength you wouldn't believe. They learn to read clients like open books, to smile through heartbreak, to haggle for an extra scrap of bread or a new tunic. They're reluctant psychologists, masters of survival. While philosophers like Socrates debate morality in the agora, women like you live by your own code. Do what it takes to survive, to keep from losing your mind. Think about this. In a society where women aren't allowed to speak in public, you're the one who hears the deepest secrets. Men, from lowly sailors to arrogant nobles, spill their guts to you. You know who's cheating on his wife, who's plotting to overthrow the government. You're the shadow behind the curtain, watching history unfold. But no one writes your name in the scrolls. Now, picture yourself standing before a cloudy bronze mirror, trying to comb your tangled hair with a broken wooden comb. The olive oil you rub into your skin masks the smell of your body, but it can't hide the filth clinging to your soul. Laughter erupts from a corner of the brothel. Chloe, another girl, is teasing a client, her voice sharp as a blade, but sweet as honey. Chloe's the type who survives by turning everything into a joke. "If the gods want me to suffer, they could at least send better-looking men," she yells, making the room roar. But when her eyes meet yours, you see the sadness, deep as a bottomless well. Step into your tattered sandals. Every day, you face rough men, the scorn of respectable wives, the fear of a beating if you don't please the madam. Yet you find tiny joys, a shared joke with irony, a quiet moment watching the moonlight glitter on the sea. You don't have the luxury of dreaming about the future, but you dream anyway, even if just for a few seconds before sleep takes you. So, what would you do to survive this world? Would you laugh like Chloe, dream like Irene, or find another path, one even the gods couldn't predict? Think about it. As you lie on your straw mat, listening to the waves crash in Piraeus, wondering if tomorrow will be any different from today. The sun's barely crept above the horizon, but the heat already presses down on you like a heavy hand. You're standing in the cramped courtyard of the brothel, a dirt patch surrounded by crumbling mud brick walls. The air smells of sour wine and burnt barley from a nearby oven. Your stomach twists, not just from hunger, but from the dread of another day. You clutch a chipped clay cup, the water inside tepid and gritty, tasting faintly of the earth it was drawn from. Somewhere nearby, a rooster crows, its shrill cry cutting through the low hum of the waking port city. You're not ready for this, but readiness isn't a luxury you get. You glance around, and there's Chloe leaning against a wall, her dark hair spilling over one shoulder as she sharpens a small knife with a stone. She catches your eye and winks, but there's a hardness in her gaze, like she's bracing for a storm only she can see. "Another day in paradise, eh?" she mutters, her voice dripping with sarcasm. You don't answer, just take another sip of the foul water, feeling it slide down your throat like regret. The courtyard is buzzing now, girls stumbling out of their rooms, some nursing bruises, others whispering about last night's clients. Irene's there too, sitting cross-legged on the ground, weaving a frayed reed mat. Her fingers move fast, but her eyes are distant, lost in that fantasy of the Cretan sailor who will never come back. You're not just a bystander in this world. You're part of its brutal rhythm. The madam, whose name you've learned is Phryne, stalks into the courtyard like a vulture circling carrion. Her linen dress, stained but finer than yours, clings to her bony frame. "Up, you lazy dogs," she barks, her voice cracking like a whip. "The market's open, and I won't have you lot lounging while there's coin to be made." She points a gnarled finger at you. "You, go with Chloe to the agora. Get bread, oil, and don't you dare come back with less than I gave you." She tosses you a small pouch of coins, the metal clinking dully as it lands in your palm. You feel the weight of her stare, a warning that failure isn't an option. The agora, Athens' bustling marketplace, is a half-hour walk from the brothel, and the journey feels like stepping into a lion's den. You and Chloe set out, the morning sun scorching your shoulders through your thin chiton. The streets are alive with noise, merchants haggling, donkeys braying, the clatter of cartwheels on uneven stone. The smell shifts with every step, fresh herbs one moment, rotting garbage the next. Your sandals slap against the ground, kicking up dust that clings to your sweat-damp skin. Chloe's a step ahead, her knife tucked into a fold of her dress, her posture screaming defiance. "Stick close," she says without looking back. The agora's no place for dreamers. You're not sure what she means until you reach the market. It's a chaotic sprawl of stalls and shouting vendors, a sea of bodies pressing against you. The air's thick with the scent of roasted meat, overripe figs, and unwashed humanity. You feel eyes on you, some curious, some leering, some outright hostile. A matron in a fine himation, her hair pinned with silver, glares as she passes, her lips curling like she smelled something foul. You're used to it by now, but it still stings, a reminder that to her, you're less than the dirt under her sandals. Chloe nudges you. Ignore her. She's just mad her husband's one of our regulars. Her laugh is sharp, but it bolsters you, a fleeting shield against the world's judgment. Your task is simple, buy supplies. But nothing's simple here. The first vendor, a wiry man with a beard like tangled wool, eyes the coins you offer with suspicion. "Brothel girls, huh?" he sneers, spitting on the ground. "These drachmas better not be clipped." You bite back a retort. Knowing a sharp tongue could cost you more than a bad deal. Chloe steps in, her smile all teeth. Oh, they're good, old man. Better than the watered-down wine you're peddling. The vendor grumbles but takes the coins, shoving a loaf of barley bread and a small jug of olive oil into your arms. The bread's hard as stone, the oil smells faintly rancid, but you clutch them like treasures. Every purchase is a battle, every coin a lifeline. As you weave through the crowd, you notice something else. The agora isn't just a market, it's a stage. Men in pristine tunics debate politics by a fountain, their voices loud and self-important, while slaves scurry past with heavy loads. You overhear snippets, talk of war with Sparta, of new laws, of scandals in the assembly. It's a world that shapes your fate, but doesn't care if you live or die. Yet, you're not invisible here. A young man, barely older than you, his face flushed from wine, stumbles over and grabs your arm. How much for an hour, pretty one? He slurs, his breath sour. Chloe's there in an instant, her knife flashing just enough to catch the light. More than you got, boy, she snaps, and he backs off, muttering curses. Your heart's pounding, but you're grateful for her. In this world, loyalty is rare, but Chloe's got your back, for now. The market isn't all danger, though. There's a strange vitality to it, a pulse that makes you feel alive despite everything. A street performer juggles torches, the flames casting wild shadows on the crowd. A woman selling herbs sings in a low, haunting voice, her song weaving through the chaos like a thread. For a moment, you let yourself imagine a different life, one where you're the singer, free to create, to be seen as more than a body for hire. But the weight of the bread in your arms pulls you back. Dreams are dangerous. They make reality harder to bear. By the time you and Chloe head back, the sun's high, and your body's screaming for rest. The walk feels longer now, your feet blistered, the jug of oil digging into your hip. Chloe's quieter too, her usual bravado softened by exhaustion. You ever think about running? She asks suddenly, her voice low. You hesitate. Running means risking capture, torture, or worse. Slaves who flee and get caught are branded or sent to the mines, a death sentence in all but name. But the idea lingers, a spark in the dark. Maybe, you say, and she nods like that's enough for now. Back at the brothel, Phryne inspects your haul with a scowl, her fingers probing the bread like she's searching for flaws. This better last a week, she snaps, then waves you off. You collapse in the courtyard, the dirt cool against your burning skin. Irene's still there, her mat nearly done, her hands raw from weaving. She looks up, her eyes searching yours. Did you see him? She asks, meaning her sailor. You shake your head, and her face falls, but only for a moment. She goes back to her work, her fingers trembling, but steady. You're starting to understand the rhythm of this life. The grind, the small rebellions, the fragile bonds that keep you sane. Chloe's knife, Irene's dreams, even Phryne's cruelty. They're all part of the machine that keeps you moving forward. But there's a cost. Every day strips away a piece of you, leaving scars that don't show. You wonder how long you can keep this up, how long before you break, or become someone you don't recognize. Are you still awake? I truly hope so, because there's something special about drifting through this story together. Quietly, slowly. If you're still listening, whisper to me, where are you right now? And how far have we come together? Don't fall asleep just yet. The most mysterious part is still waiting for us ahead. The afternoon sun hangs heavy, turning the brothel courtyard into a furnace. You're slumped against a rough mud brick wall, sweat trickling down your spine, the coarse fabric of your chiton sticking to your skin like a second layer of misery. The air's thick with a stench of overripe fruit and the faint tang of blood from a pig being slaughtered nearby. Your hands are still gritty from the agora, and the blisters on your feet throb with every heartbeat. You want to close your eyes to steal a moment of peace, but the world doesn't stop for you. It never does. Chloe sprawled a few feet away, fanning herself with a broken reed, her knife glinting beside her. She's humming a tune, something sharp and mocking, but her eyes scan the courtyard like a hawk's. Irene's gone inside, probably to avoid Phryne's wrath, leaving her half-finished mat in the dirt. The other girls are scattered around, some mending torn clothes, others trading hushed gossip about a client who didn't pay. The courtyard's a living thing, pulsing with tension, laughter, and the ever-present threat of Phryne's temper. You feel it in your bones. This place is a cage, and you're all animals pacing inside it. A shadow falls over you, and you look up to see Phryne, her lips pursed like she's bitten into a sour grape. "Get up," she snaps, her voice slicing through the heat. "You're not here to nap. There's a banquet tonight at Lysander's house, and he's paid for entertainment." Her eyes rake over you, calculating, cold. "You and Chloe, clean yourselves up. Don't embarrass me." She tosses a small clay jar at you, cheap perfume, the kind that smells like wilted flowers and stings your skin. You catch it, your fingers trembling, not from fear, but from the sudden jolt of what's coming. A banquet means coin, but it also means a night of navigating men with too much wine and too little restraint. You drag yourself to your feet, the ground hot under your soles, and follow Chloe to a corner of the courtyard where a cracked basin of water sits. The water's murky, flecked with dirt, but it's all you've got. You splash it on your face, the cold a brief shock against the heat, but it does little to wash away the grime or the dread pooling in your gut. Chloe's already scrubbing her arms, her movements quick and practiced. "Lysander's a pig," she says, not looking at you. "But his coin's good. Just keep your wits sharp and your smile sharper." You nod, but your stomach churns. You've heard of Lysander, a wealthy merchant with a reputation for lavish parties and a temper that turns ugly fast. The two of you work in silence, combing your hair with your fingers, rubbing the stinging perfume into your skin. The scent clings to you, heavy and cloying, like a lie you can't shake. You catch your reflection in the basin surface, distorted, shadowy, a stranger's face. Your eyes are hollow, your lips chapped, but you force a smile, practicing for the night ahead. In this world, a smile is armor, a weapon, a currency. Chloe catches you staring and laughs, low and bitter. You look like you're about to seduce a cyclops. Relax, or they'll eat you alive. The walk to Lysander's house takes you through the heart of Athens, the city waking up as the sun dips low. The streets are a riot of color and sound. Vendors packing up their stalls, children chasing each other through the dust, the distant strum of a lyre floating from a tavern. The air smells of roasted lamb and myrrh, a stark contrast to the brothel's sour reek. You and Chloe move quickly, your chitons freshly patched, but still marking you as outsiders. Passers-by glance at you, some with pity, others with disgust. A group of young men, their tunics bright with dye, whistle as you pass, their laughter sharp as broken glass. Chloe doesn't flinch, but you feel the weight of their gazes, like hands pressing you into the dirt. Lysander's house looms at the edge of the city, a sprawling villa with whitewashed walls and a tiled roof that gleams in the fading light. The courtyard is alive with torchlight, the flames casting flickering shadows on marble statues of nymphs and gods. You hear the hum of voices, the clink of goblets, the low drone of a flute. Your heart races, not with excitement, but with the instinct to survive. Chloe squeezes your arm, a rare gesture of reassurance. "Stay close," she whispers, "and don't drink anything they offer you." Inside, the banquet hall is a world apart from the brothel. The floor is a mosaic of black and white tiles, depicting a battle you don't recognize. Couches draped in rich fabrics line the walls, where men recline, their faces flushed with wine. The air's thick with the scent of roasted meat, honeyed figs, and the musky perfume of the guests. You and Chloe are led to a corner, where a slave hands you a lyre and a pair of castanets. Your job isn't just to please the guests physically. You're expected to entertain, to sing, to dance, to be whatever they want. The lyre's strings bite into your fingers, unfamiliar and unforgiving, but you strum a few notes. mimicking the tunes you've heard in the streets. The night blurs into a haze of noise and motion. You sing until your throat aches, your voice blending with Chloe's sharper one. The men clap, some leering, others ignoring you entirely. Lysander, a broad man with a beard streaked with gray, watches from the head of the room, his eyes glinting like a predator's. You feel his gaze, heavy and unyielding, and it takes everything not to falter. A guest, a young man with a crooked smile, tosses a coin at your feet. Laughing as you scramble to picket ambulatory care refers to healthcare services provided on an outpatient basis, meaning patients don't need to stay overnight in a hospital. It includes a range of services like doctor visits, diagnostic tests, minor surgeries, and preventive care, often delivered in clinics, medical offices, or specialized facilities. Think of it as the in and out of healthcare. Get your checkup, your x-ray, or your flu shot, and you're back to your day. It's a massive part of the healthcare system because it's cost-effective and convenient. In the U.S., about 80% of healthcare spending goes to outpatient services, with over 1 billion ambulatory visits annually. Globally, it's growing too, especially in places like India and China, where mobile clinics and telemedicine are expanding access. It's not just doctors' offices, urgent care centers, retail clinics and pharmacies, and even virtual consultations via apps like Teladoc are part of it. The catch? Access can be uneven. If you're in a rural area or uninsured, you might struggle to find a nearby clinic or afford the visit. Plus, quality varies wildly. Some places are cutting edge, others are stretched thin. If you're curious about specifics, like how it works in a particular country or what services are covered by insurance, let me know where you're at or what you're digging into. The banquet hall's glow fades as you stumble out into the cool night air, your body humming with exhaustion and the aftershocks of adrenaline. The stars above Athens glitter like scattered coins, but they offer no comfort. Your hands tremble, still clutching the lyre, its strings leaving faint red marks on your fingers. Chloe's beside you, her face unreadable, her knife tucked back into her chiton. The coin pouch Lysander's steward tossed you clinks softly, a meager reward for a night of dancing on the edge of danger. Your throat's raw from singing, your feet ache from hours of standing, and the cheap perfume you applied earlier now mixes with sweat, creating a sickly sweet stench that clings to your skin. The city's quieter now, the streets emptied save for a few drunken stragglers and the occasional bark of a dog. The torches along the path cast long, wavering shadows, and the air smells of dust and distant sea salt. You and Chloe walk in silence, the weight of the night pressing down on you both. Your mind replays moments from the banquet. Lysander's predatory stare, the young man's mocking coin toss, the way Chloe's voice cracked on the last song, but still held the room. You're not sure what's worse, the men's leering or the women's pitying glances, the wives who sat at the edges of the hall, their eyes saying you're beneath them, even as their husbands' hands wandered. You pass a small shrine to Aphrodite, its stone altar streaked with wax from melted offerings. A wilted garland of myrtle lies at its base, and you wonder who left it. A lover seeking passion, a wife praying for fidelity, or someone like you, begging for protection in a world that offers none. Chloe notices you staring and snorts. "Don't waste your prayers," she says, her voice low. "If Aphrodite cared, we wouldn't be here." Her words sting, not because they're cruel, but because they're true. The gods feel as distant as the stars, and you're left to fend for yourself in a city that worships beauty but discards the women who embody it. Back at the brothel, the courtyard is dark, the other girls asleep or tending to late clients. The air's cooler here, but it carries the familiar reek of stale wine and unwashed bodies. Phryne's waiting, her silhouette sharp against the flickering light of a single oil lamp. She snatches the coin pouch from you, her fingers quick as a thief's, and counts the drachmas with a scowl. "Barely enough," she mutters, though you know it's more than she expected. She waves you off with a flick of her wrist, and you and Chloe slip into the shadows, collapsing onto a shared straw mat in a corner of the sleeping quarters. The mat's thin, the straw poking through like tiny needles, but it's better than the floor. You lie there, staring at the cracked ceiling, the sounds of the brothel a dull hum, someone coughing, another girl muttering in her sleep. Chloe's breathing is steady beside you, but you know she's not asleep. "You did all right tonight," she says after a long silence, her voice softer than usual. "Kept your head on." Most don't, their first banquet. You don't know how to respond. Was it skill or just survival? The line's blurry, and you're too tired to care. Your body feels like it's been dragged through the streets, every muscle aching. Your skin raw, where the chitin seams rubbed too long. But your mind's the worst, racing, replaying every moment, every near miss, every forced smile. Sleep doesn't come easy, but when it does, it's fitful, haunted by fragments of the night. You dream of Lysander's eyes, of the agora's chaos, of Irene's fragile hope. You wake before dawn, the air heavy with the promise of another brutal day. The brothel's stirring now, girls shuffling to their tasks, the courtyard filling with the clatter of pots and the sharp tang of barley porridge cooking over fire. You drag yourself up, your body protesting, and join the others. Irene's there, stirring the porridge with a wooden spoon, her face pale but set. She doesn't mention her sailor, and you don't ask. Some dreams are too fragile to touch. Today's different, though. Phryne's in a rare mood, her usual venom tempered by the banquet's earnings. She announces a trip to the public baths, a rare treat to keep you lot from stinking worse than the docks. The baths are a luxury, even for women like you, and the prospect sparks a flicker of excitement. You grab a clean chitin, still threadbare, but less torn, and follow the group through the waking city. The streets are already alive, the air thick with the smell of baking bread and the metallic tang of a blacksmith's forge. Your sandals slap against the cobblestones, the rhythm grounding you, a reminder that you're still here, still moving. The baths are a sprawling complex of stone and steam, their entrance flanked by statues of nymphs with serene, unseeing eyes. Inside, the air's warm and heavy, scented with lavender and the faint mineral tang of the water. You strip off your chitin, the fabric peeling away like a shed skin, and step into the tepidarium, the warm bath. The water's a shock at first, then a relief, soothing your aching muscles and washing away the grime of days. You sink deeper, letting the heat seep into your bones, the world muffled by the splash of water and the low murmur of voices. Chloe's nearby, scrubbing her arms with a rough cloth, her usual smirk softened by the steam. Even Irene seems lighter, her shoulders relaxing as she floats, her hair fanning out like seaweed. But the baths aren't just for cleaning. They're a microcosm of Athens, a place where the city's layers collide. Wealthy women lounge in a separate chamber, their laughter sharp and exclusive, their slaves tending to their every whim. You catch their glances, quick and cutting, as if your presence taints the water. A group of older men, their skin sagging but their voices loud, debate trade routes in the corner, ignoring you entirely. You're invisible here, yet exposed, your body on display, but your existence erased. It's a strange paradox, one you're learning to navigate with every step in this world. Chloe nudges you, pointing to a woman across the room, her hair dyed an unnatural red, her laugh loud enough to echo. "That's Calliope," Chloe whispers. "Used to be one of us, now she's a Hetaira." You've heard of Hetaira, high-class courtesans, educated, witty, and free in ways you'll never be. Calliope moves with confidence, her chitin finer than anything you've touched, her presence commanding the room. You feel a pang, not just of envy, but of something deeper, a longing for a life where you're more than a body, more than a shadow. Chloe sees it in your face and shrugs. Don't get ideas. Most of us don't climb that high. Most of us don't climb at all. The baths are a brief escape, but they can't erase the reality waiting outside. As you dry off, wrapping yourself in your chitin, you feel the weight settle back onto your shoulders. The walk back to the brothel is quieter, the group subdued, the city's noise a dull roar. Your skin's clean, your muscles less tense, but your mind's still a tangle of fear and defiance. You're starting to see the cracks in this world, not just in the brothel's walls, but in the system that keeps you here. The gods, the men, the city itself, they all demand your submission, but there's a spark in you, small but growing, that refuses to bow. Back at the brothel, Phryne's waiting with a new task, her eyes glinting with something you can't read. "Rest up," she says, her voice oddly calm. "Tomorrow's a big day. We've got a visitor." She doesn't elaborate, but the way she says it sends a chill down your spine, colder than the bath water ever was. You glance at Chloe, who's frowning, her knife hand twitching. Irene's staring at the ground, her hands clenched. Whoever's coming, it's not good news. The night's heavy, pressing against you like a damp cloak as you lie on your straw mat. The brothel's courtyard silent save for the occasional creak of wood or the distant howl of a stray dog. Your body's still warm from the baths, your skin cleaner than it's been in weeks, but the ache in your bones and the knot in your chest refuse to loosen. Phryne's cryptic words about a visitor echo in your mind, each syllable a pebble dropped into the still water of your thoughts, rippling outward with unease. You turn, the straw prickling your skin, and catch Chloe's silhouette in the dark, her breathing uneven. She's awake too, her knife close enough to glint in the faint moonlight. Irene's curled up nearby, her soft snores a fragile counterpoint to the tension coiling around you. Dawn creeps in, gray and unforgiving, the air thick with the smell of damp earth and the faint smoke of a dying fire. You rise, your joints creaking, and step into the courtyard, where the other girls are already stirring. The porridge pot's bubbling again, its sour, grainy scent mingling with the ever-present tang of sweat and cheap oil. You grab a bowl, the clay warm in your hands, and force down a few spoonfuls, the texture gritty against your tongue. It's fuel, nothing more, but even this small act feels like defiance. You're still here, still fighting to exist. Irene joins you, her eyes red-rimmed, her fingers twisting a frayed thread from her chiton. "Do you think it's a client?" she whispers, her voice barely audible over the courtyard's hum. You shrug, not trusting yourself to answer. Whoever this visitor is, Phryne's anticipation means trouble. The morning drags, filled with the usual tasks, sweeping the courtyard, mending torn clothes, scrubbing pots until your knuckles bleed. The work's mindless, but it keeps your hands busy while your mind races. Chloe's quieter than usual, her usual sharp wit dulled, her eyes darting to the brothel's entrance every time a shadow passes. You catch her sharpening her knife again, the rhythmic scrape of stone on metal, a steady undercurrent to the morning's chaos. "Stop staring," she snaps when she notices you, but there's no real venom in it. You nod, turning back to your task, but the air feels charged, like the moment before a storm breaks. Phryne appears at noon, her face a mask of forced calm, her linen dress freshly washed, but still stained at the hem. "Line up," she barks, her voice cutting through the courtyard's chatter. The girls shuffle into place, a ragged row of worn chitons and wary eyes. You stand between Chloe and Irene, your heart thudding against your ribs. Phryne paces, her gaze flicking over you like a merchant inspecting livestock. "The visitor's a priestess," she says, and the word lands like a stone in your gut. "From the temple of Artemis. She's here to inspect you." Her lips twist, as if the explanation tastes bad. "Behave, or you'll wish you'd been sold to the mines." A priestess. The word conjures images of serene women in flowing robes, their lives dedicated to the gods, worlds apart from your own. But the way Phryne says it, with that edge of unease, tells you this isn't a blessing. You glance at Chloe, whose jaw is tight, her knife hand hidden in the folds of her dress. Irene's trembling, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles are white. You want to reassure her, but your own fear is a living thing, clawing at your throat. The gods are supposed to protect, but in your experience, they're as cruel as the men who claim to serve them. The priestess arrives as the sun peaks, her presence announced by the jangle of silver bangles and the soft rustle of her robes. She's tall, her face severe, her hair bound in a tight braid that gleams like polished bronze. Her eyes are sharp, cutting through the courtyard like a blade, and the air around her seems to hum with authority. 2 acolytes trail her, young women in simpler robes, their heads bowed but their gazes curious. The priestess doesn't speak at first, just stands there, letting the weight of her presence silence the courtyard. Phryne bows, a gesture so deferential it's almost grotesque, and gestures for the girls to step forward. You're pushed into line, your bare feet scuffing the dirt, the heat of the sun burning your shoulders. The priestess moves slowly, inspecting each girl with a clinical detachment that makes your skin crawl. She pauses at Irene, tilting her chin up with a long finger, her eyes narrowing as if searching for something. Irene freezes, her breath hitching, and you feel a surge of protectiveness, a need to shield her from whatever this is. But you're powerless, rooted to the spot, your own fear a heavy chain. The priestess moves on, her bangles clinking, and stops in front of you. Her gaze is a physical thing, peeling back your layers, exposing the raw, battered core of you. "This one," she says, her voice low and clear, like a bell tolling. Phryne nods, her face unreadable, and your stomach drops. You're led to a small room off the courtyard, the priestess and 1 acolyte following. The space is cramped, the air stale, the only light coming from a narrow slit in the wall. You stand, your hands clenched, as the priestess circles you, her robes brushing the floor. "You serve men," she says, not a question, but a statement. Her tone devoid of judgment, but heavy with intent. But the goddess Artemis demands purity, even from the impure. You don't understand, and she doesn't explain. Instead, she gestures to the acolyte, who produces a small clay vial filled with a dark liquid that smells of herbs and something sharper, like metal. "Drink," the priestess orders, and you hesitate, your instincts screaming danger. But Phryne's watching from the doorway, her eyes promising pain if you disobey. You take the vial, the clay cool against your palm, and drink. The liquid burns, bitter and thick, coating your throat and settling in your stomach like a stone. You gag, but force it down, your vision swimming for a moment. The priestess watches, her expression unchanging, then nods. "You'll do," she says, and turns to leave, her acolyte trailing behind. Phryne hustles you out, her grip bruising, and you're back in the courtyard, the world tilting under your feet. Chloe's there, her face pale, her knife hand twitching. "What did she do?" she whispers, but you can't answer. The bitter taste still clinging to your tongue, your body heavy with an unnamed dread. The rest of the day passes in a blur. You're sent to clean the sleeping quarters, your hands shaking as you sweep the dirt floor, the broom's rough handle splintering your palms. The other girls avoid your gaze, as if whatever the priestess did has marked you. Irene tries to help, her small hands brushing against yours, but her touch feels distant, like she's already slipping away. Chloe's the only one who stays close, her presence a tether. But even she's shaken, her usual bravado replaced by a quiet intensity. "We'll figure it out," she says, but her voice lacks conviction. As night falls, the brothel settles into its usual rhythm, clients arriving, the air filling with laughter and the clink of coins. But you're excused, sent to your mat early, your body still reeling from the priestess's drink. You lie there, the courtyard sounds muffled, your mind a storm of questions. What did she want? Why you? The gods are supposed to be distant, their will interpreted by men, but this feels personal, a thread of fate tightening around your neck. You think of Artemis, the huntress, her bow always drawn, her mercy as rare as a kind word in this place. If she's chosen you, it's not for salvation. The dawn is a bruise, purple and heavy, spreading across the sky as you sit in the brothel's courtyard, your back against the rough, mud brick wall. Your mouth still tastes of the priestess's bitter brew, a lingering ghost that no amount of water can wash away. Your body feels foreign, sluggish, as if the liquid seeped into your bones and left something behind, a weight, a warning. The air's cool, but thick with the scent of damp straw and the faint char of last night's fire. Around you, the brothel stirs, girls shuffling to their tasks, their voices low and cautious, as if they sense the same storm you do. Chloe's nearby, sharpening her knife with slow, deliberate strokes, the scrape of stone against metal a steady pulse. Irene's absent, sent to fetch water. Her absence a small ache in your chest. You're not sure what's worse, the uncertainty of what the priestess wants or the certainty that it's nothing good. Your fingers trace the edge of your chiton, the fabric frayed and stained, a map of your survival. The courtyard alive with small sounds, the clatter of a clay pot, the soft curse of a girl who's burned her hand on the porridge kettle, the distant cry of a gull circling the port. But it's all background noise, drowned out by the drum of your own heartbeat, the question that won't leave you. Why you? Why did the priestess choose you? And what does Artemis, the untamed goddess, want with a brothel girl? Phryne emerges from her quarters, her face a storm cloud, her eyes darting to you before settling on the group. Work doesn't stop for your whining, she snaps, her voice cutting through the morning haze. You get to the loom. We need cloth to sell. She points at you, her finger like a spear, and you nod, rising on legs that feel like they might betray you. The loom's in a cramped room off the courtyard, a wooden frame strung with coarse wool, its threads tangled from neglect. You sit the stool hard against your aching hips and begin to weave, your hands moving mechanically. The shuttles weight a small anchor in the chaos of your thoughts. The work is grueling, the wool rough against your fingers, the repetitive motion a dull ache in your shoulders. But it's also a strange reprieve, a chance to think. The priestess's visit wasn't random. Artemis's temple isn't known for meddling in the lives of women like you. The goddess is a hunter, a protector of the wild. Her worship tied to purity and sacrifice. Purity. The word sticks in your mind, sharp as a thorn. You're the opposite of pure, at least by the standards of Athens, your body a commodity, your soul a battlefield. Yet the priestess saw something in you, something worth marking with that bitter drink. You wonder if it's a test, a punishment, or something worse, a role you're being shaped for, whether you want it or not. Chloe slips into the room, her presence a sudden spark in the dimness. She leans against the wall, her knife tucked away, but her posture tense, like a coiled spring. You look like you're weaving your own shroud, she says, her voice light, but her eyes serious. You don't smile, just keep working, the shuttle sliding through the threads with a soft thud. What do you know about Artemis's priestesses? You ask, your voice low, as if speaking her name might summon her. Chloe shrugs, but her gaze sharpens. They're not like the others. They don't just pray and burn incense. They choose people. For rituals, for offerings. Sometimes for things no one talks about. Her words hang in the air, heavy as the wool in your hands. You want to press her, but the door creaks, and Irene steps in, her arms laden with a water jug, her face flushed from the effort. They're talking about you, she says, her voice trembling. The girls. They say the priestess marked you for a sacrifice. The word lands like a blow, and you falter, the shuttle slipping from your fingers. Chloe snorts, but it's forced, her hand twitching toward her knife. Gossip, she says, but her eyes meet yours, and you see the doubt there, the same fear gnawing at you. Irene sets the jug down, water sloshing over the rim, and kneels beside you. You'll be okay, she whispers, but it's more a prayer than a promise. The day grinds on, the loom's rhythm a counterpoint to your racing thoughts. You weave until your fingers cramp, until the light through the room's narrow window turns golden, then dim. Phryne checks your work, her grunt of approval the closest you'll get to praise. You're sent to the courtyard to eat, a meager meal of bread and lentils, The food tasteless, but necessary. The other girls keep their distance, their whispers a soft hiss, like wind through dry grass. You're marked, whether by the priestess or their fear, and it isolates you, a wall you can't breach. Chloe stays close, her presence a shield, but even she's quieter, her jokes fewer, her eyes always scanning. As night falls, the brothel shifts gears, the air filling with the clink of coins and the low hum of clients. You're spared tonight, your body still reeling from the priestess's drink, but the sounds filter through the walls, laughter, moans, the occasional shout. You sit in the courtyard, a clay lamp casting flickering shadows, its oil scent sharp and acrid. Irenice beside you, mending a torn chiton, her needle flashing in the light. I prayed to Artemis today, she says suddenly, her voice soft. At the little shrine by the docks, I asked her to spare you. You want to thank her, but the words stick, your throat tight with something you can't name. Instead, you squeeze her hand, her skin cool and fragile under yours. Chloe joins you, her knife now openly in her lap, her eyes on the brothel's entrance. If they come for you, they'll have to go through me, she says, and it's not a boast but a vow. You nod, grateful but uneasy, knowing her loyalty could cost her as much as it costs you. The night deepens, the stars hidden by clouds, the air heavy with the promise of rain. You're about to retreat to your mat when a figure appears at the courtyard's edge, an acolyte from the temple, her robe stark white in the darkness, her face half hidden by a hood. The girls freeze, the air electric with fear, but she points at you, her gesture precise, undeniable. You're led to a small chamber, the acolyte silent, her bangles clinking softly. The room's bare, its walls cold stone, a single lamp casting long shadows. She hands you a folded cloth, white and finely woven, unlike anything you've touched before. Wear this, she says, her voice flat but commanding. Tomorrow, you'll come to the temple. She doesn't explain, doesn't linger, leaving you with the cloth and 1,000 questions. You clutch it, its softness a mockery of your reality, and return to the courtyard, the other girls staring, their silence louder than any words. Rain patters on the brothel's roof, a soft, relentless rhythm that matches the thud of your heart as you lie awake, the white cloth from the acolyte clutched in your hands. Its lavender scent fills the air, delicate and out of place, like a flower blooming in a graveyard. The straw mat beneath you is damp, the chill seeping into your bones, but it's the weight of tomorrow that keeps you from sleep. The temple of Artemis looms in your mind, its stone walls and shadowed altars more menacing than any client's leer. Chloe's nearby, her knife a glint in the dark, her breathing shallow but steady. Irenice curled up, her soft whimpers barely audible over the rain. You want to reach for them, to anchor yourself in their presence, but the cloth in your hands feels like a chain, pulling you toward a fate you can't see. Dawn breaks, gray and sodden, the courtyard slick with mud. The air smells of wet earth and the faint tang of mildew, the usual odors of sweat and oil subdued by the storm. You rise, your body stiff, your mouth still sour with the priestess's brew from yesterday. The other girls are quiet, their eyes sliding away from you as they go about their tasks, stoking the fire, scrubbing pots, mending clothes. You're marked, not just by the acolyte's visit, but by the fear that clings to you like damp cloth. Even Phryne's subdued, her usual venom replaced by a wary silence, her gaze lingering on you as if you're a puzzle she can't solve. You unfold the white cloth, its texture smooth against your calloused fingers, and slip it over your shoulders. It's a chiton, finer than anything you've worn, its folds draping elegantly despite your trembling hands. The fabric feels like a lie, dressing you up for a role you don't understand. Chloe watches, her jaw tight, her knife hand twitching. You look like a sacrificial lamb, she says, her voice low, and you can't tell if she's joking or warning you. Irene steps closer, her eyes wide, and touches the cloth, her fingers hesitant. It's beautiful, she whispers, but her voice cracks, and you see the fear she's trying to hide. You want to reassure her, to promise you'll be back, but the words stick, heavy as the rain-soaked air. Phryne appears, her face a mask of forced calm. "The acolyte's here," she says, her voice clipped. "Don't keep her waiting." She doesn't meet your eyes, a rare crack in her armor, and you wonder if even she's afraid of what's coming. You step into the courtyard, the mud cold under your bare feet, and see the acolyte waiting at the entrance, her white robe stark against the gray morning. Her hood is up, her face shadowed, but her bangles clink as she gestures for you to follow. Chloe grabs your arm, her grip fierce. "Whatever they want, don't let them break you," she whispers, her voice raw. You nod, your throat tight, and pull away, the weight of her words settling into your chest. The walk to the temple is a blur, the city muffled by rain and fog. The acolyte moves swiftly, her robes barely touching the muddy streets, and you struggle to keep pace, the chiton clinging to your legs, its whiteness already stained at the hem. Athens is waking, but the usual bustle is subdued. Vendors huddle under awnings, their voices low, the air thick with the smell of wet wool and charred wood. A stray dog follows you for a block, its ribs sharp under matted fur, before it slinks away. You feel a kinship with it, both of you scavenging for survival in a city that doesn't care. The temple of Artemis looms at the city's edge, its marble columns gleaming despite the gloom, its steps slick with rain. The air shifts as you approach, charged with something ancient, something that makes your skin prickle. The acolyte leads you through a side entrance, the stone cold under your feet, the corridor dim and echoing with the drip of water. You hear chanting, low and rhythmic, the sound weaving through the air like smoke. Your heart pounds, each beat a reminder that you're stepping into the goddess's domain, a place where mortals are small and the divine is unforgiving. You're taken to a chamber, its walls carved with scenes of stags and crescent moons, the air heavy with the scent of myrrh and burning cedar. The priestess from yesterday waits, her severe face softened by the flickering light of oil lamps. She's alone, her acolytes dismissed, and her presence fills the room, commanding and cold. "Kneel," she says, her voice a blade, and you obey, the stone biting into your knees. She studies you, her eyes searching, as if peeling back your skin to see what lies beneath. "You drank the Kikian," she says, naming the bitter brew. "It binds you to the goddess. Do you understand what that means?" You don't, not really, but you nod, your mouth dry. She steps closer, her bangles clinking, and places a hand on your head, her touch cool and unyielding. "Artemis demands service," she says. "Not the service you give men, but something pure, something whole. The temple needs women, not for sacrifice, but for devotion." Her words are a riddle, each one a stone in a path you can't see. You want to ask what she means, but fear seals your lips. She continues, her voice softening, but no less commanding. "You'll live here, train with the acolytes, serve the goddess. Your past will be erased, your debts paid. But you'll belong to Artemis, body and soul." The offer, if it is an offer, stuns you. Freedom from the brothel, from Phryne, from the endless grind of survival. But at what cost? You think of Chloe's knife, Irene's prayers, the fragile bonds that tether you to the world you know. The temple is a cage too, its bars invisible, but no less real. You're not pure, not holy, and the idea of serving a goddess feels like a mockery of everything you are. Yet the alternative, returning to the brothel, to the men, to the slow death of your spirit, is no better. You're trapped, the choice no choice at all. The priestess watches, her patience a blade held at your throat. "Speak," she says, and you force the words out, your voice hoarse. "What if I refuse?" Her lips curve, not a smile, but something colder. The goddess does not force, but those who turn from her rarely find peace. It's not a threat, not exactly, but it chills you, the weight of her words settling into your bones. She gestures to the door. "Return tomorrow with your answer." The Kikian binds you until then. You're led back to the brothel, the rain heavier now, soaking the chitin until it clings to your skin like a shroud. The city blurs, the temple's chants echoing in your mind, the priestess's words a knot you can't untangle. You're shivering by the time you reach the courtyard, the mud sucking at your feet, the other girls staring as if you returned from the underworld. Chloe's there, her knife in hand, her eyes searching yours. "What do they want?" she asks, her voice low, urgent. You tell her, the words spilling out, and she curses, her hand tightening on the knife. "They're trading one chain for another," she says, but there's no answer in her anger, only the same fear you feel. Irene listens, her face pale, her hands twisting the frayed thread of her chitin. "Maybe it's a chance," she says, her voice small, "to be something else." But you see the doubt in her eyes, the same doubt that gnaws at you. The brothel's a prison, but it's familiar, its dangers known. The temple is a mystery, its promises laced with shadows. You spend the day in a daze, weaving at the loom, the threads blurring as your mind churns. The other girls whisper, their fear feeding yours, and even Phryne's quieter, her usual cruelty dulled by the temple's shadow. Night falls, the rain a steady drum, the courtyard empty save for you, Chloe and Irene. You sit by a dying fire, its smoke stinging your eyes, the white chitin folded beside you. Chloe's sharpening her knife again, the sound a lifeline in the dark. "If you go, I'm coming with you," she says, her voice fierce. "They won't take you alone." Irene nods, her hand brushing yours, her touch a fragile promise. You want to believe them, to cling to their loyalty, but the choice is yours, and it's tearing you apart. As the fire fades, the rain a soft roar, you wonder, can you trade one kind of servitude for another, or will you fight for something else, something impossible? The temple waits, its goddess watching, and you're running out of time to decide. The rain has stopped, leaving the brothel courtyard a mire of slick mud that clings to your feet as you pace, the white chitin from the temple draped over your arm like a ghost. The air's heavy, thick with the scent of wet earth and the faint rot of discarded food, the usual brothel stench softened but not gone. Dawn is hours away, but sleep is a stranger, your mind a tangle of the priestess's words, Chloe's fierce loyalty, and Irene's fragile hope. The choice looms, return to the temple and surrender to Artemis, or stay in the brothel's grinding jaws, where survival is a daily theft. Your body's tense, your shoulders knotted, the bitter aftertaste of the Kickian lingering like a curse. Every step in the mud feels like a countdown, each squelch a reminder that time is slipping through your fingers. Chloe's sitting by the courtyard's edge, her knife glinting as she carves a piece of wood into something shapeless, her movements sharp and restless. The fire's gone out, leaving only a pile of damp ashes, but her eyes burn, watching you pace. Irene's nearby, hunched over a clay lamp, its flickering light casting shadows that dance across her face. She's mending a torn sandal, her needle moving with a precision that belies the tremor in her hands. The other girls are asleep, their snores and murmurs a soft hum, but the courtyard feels alive, charged with the weight of your decision. You stop pacing, the mud cold against your toes, and meet Chloe's gaze. "You're driving me mad with that walking," she says, her voice low, but edged with concern. "Sit. Talk." You drop beside her, the ground hard, the chitin folded in your lap. Its lavender scent is fainter now, tainted by the courtyard's damp reek, but it still feels like a chain, binding you to the temple's call. "I don't know what to do," you admit, your voice raw, the words spilling out like blood from a wound. The temple's a cage, but so is this place. Either way, I'm not free. Chloe snorts, her knife pausing mid-carve. "Freedom's a myth for people like us," she says, her tone bitter but honest. "You pick the cage you can survive. That's it." Irene looks up, her needle still, her eyes wide. "But the temple, it's holy," she says, her voice small. "Maybe it's better. Maybe it's a way out." You want to believe her, to cling to her hope, but the priestess's cold gaze and the Kickian's burn tell you otherwise. The night stretches, the silence between you heavy but not empty. Chloe resumes carving, the wood shavings curling at her feet, and you notice the shape taking form, a small deer, crude but unmistakable, a nod to Artemis. You believe in her, you ask surprised. Chloe shrugs, her knife flashing. Don't know if I believe in gods or just their power, but they've got a hold on this city, and you're caught in it. Her words are a knife's edge, cutting through your indecision. The temple isn't just a place, it's a force, like the brothel, like Athens itself, shaping your life whether you bow to it or not. You're about to speak when a noise cuts through the dark, a low, deliberate knock at the brothel's gate. The sound is soft but deliberate, like a predator testing the door. Chloe's on her feet in an instant, her knife ready, her body coiled. Irene freezes, the lamp's flame trembling in her hands. You stand, the chitin slipping to the ground, your heart pounding. Phryne's quarters are dark, the other girls still asleep, and the knock comes again, insistent. Chloe gestures for you to stay back, but you follow her, your bare feet silent in the mud, the air electric with dread. At the gate, Chloe peers through a crack, her knife raised, then curses under her breath. It's one of the acolytes, she whispers, her voice tight. She opens the gate just enough, and the same hooded figure from yesterday steps into the courtyard, her white robe ghostly in the dim light. Her bangles clink, a sound that sets your teeth on edge, and her eyes find you immediately, piercing through the darkness. You were told to come at dawn, she says, her voice flat but laced with reproach. The goddess does not wait. You swallow, your throat dry, and glance at Chloe, who's gripping her knife like she's ready to gut the acolyte where she stands. I haven't decided, you say, the words bolder than you feel. The acolyte's lips thin, her gaze sharpening. The Kikian binds you, she says, stepping closer, her robe brushing the mud. You drink it. You're hers, whether you choose or not. Her words are a slap, stripping away the illusion of choice. Chloe steps between you, her knife catching the lamplight. Back off, she snaps, her voice low and dangerous. She's not your property. The acolyte doesn't flinch, her eyes flicking to Chloe with a cold amusement. The goddess's claim outweighs yours, she says, then turns to you. Come now, or the consequences will find you. The air crackles, the moment teetering on violence. Irene's behind you, her breath hitching, the lamp trembling in her hands. You feel the weight of their loyalty, Chloe's defiance, Irene's fear, and it steadies you, if only for a moment. I'll come at dawn, you say, your voice steady despite the storm in your chest. As I was told. The acolyte studies you, then nods, her bangles clinking as she turns and slips back into the night. Chloe slams the gate, her curse a low growl, and Irene sags, the lamp nearly slipping from her hands. You're shaking now, the adrenaline fading, leaving you hollow. Chloe grabs your shoulders, her grip bruising. You don't have to go, she says, her voice fierce. We can run. Tonight. Get out of Athens, find a ship, anything. Her words are a lifeline, but they're frayed. The risk's too real. Capture, branding the mines. Irene's watching, her eyes pleading, and you see her dream of the Cretan sailor reflected in her fear for you. I can't leave you, you say, and it's true, but it's also a chain, binding you to them as surely as the Kikian binds you to Artemis. The rest of the night is a blur of whispered plans and stolen moments. Chloe talks of escape routes, of ships leaving Piraeus, but her voice lacks conviction. The reality of Athens' walls too solid. Irene prays, her lips moving silently, her hands clutching a small pebble she calls a charm. You sit with them, the chitin back in your lap, its lavender scent now a faint memory. You're torn not just between the temple and the brothel, but between survival and something more, a spark of defiance, a need to be more than a pawn in the gods' game. As dawn nears, the courtyard grows quiet, the other girls stirring but keeping their distance. Phryne emerges, her face haggard, her eyes flicking to the gate. Don't be a fool, she says, her voice low, almost human. The temple's your only way out. It's the closest she's come to kindness, but it's laced with her own fear, her own need to keep the brothel running. You don't answer, just stand, the chitin over your arm, and step into the courtyard, Chloe and Irene at your side. The acolyte returns as promised, her robe pristine despite the mud, her presence a cold wind. Chloe's knife is hidden but ready, Irene's hand brushing yours, a final tether. You follow the acolyte, the city waking around you, the air sharp with the smell of baking bread and sea salt. The temple looms, its columns stark against the rising sun, and you feel the Kikian's pull, a thread tightening around your soul. You're walking into the goddess's jaws, but you're not alone. Chloe's defiance, Irene's hope, they're with you, even if they can't follow. The temple doors close behind you with a low, resonant thud, sealing you in a world of stone and shadow. The air is cool, heavy with the scent of myrrh and burning cedar, the chanting of unseen acolytes weaving through the space like a living thing. Your bare feet press against a polished marble floor, cold and unyielding, a stark contrast to the brothel's muddy courtyard. The white chitin clings to your skin, its lavender scent now overwhelmed by the temple's incense, and your hands tremble, not from the chill, but from the weight of what you're walking into. The priestess stands before you, her severe face lit by the flickering glow of oil lamps, her eyes pinning you like a moth to a board. You're here in Artemis's domain, but you're not sure if you're a guest, a prisoner, or something else entirely. She gestures for you to follow, her bangles silent now, her robes whispering against the floor. You move, your steps hesitant, the Kikian's bitter aftertaste still coating your tongue, a reminder of the bond you didn't choose. The corridor stretches ahead, its walls carved with crescent moons and running stags, their eyes seeming to follow you. The chanting grows louder, a rhythmic pulse that syncs with your heartbeat, pulling you deeper into the temple's heart. You think of Chloe's knife, Irene's prayers, the brothel's familiar chaos. Left behind, but not gone. Their way to tether you carry even here. The priestess doesn't speak, her silence a command, and you follow, your breath shallow, your mind racing with questions you don't dare ask. You're led to a small chamber, its walls bare except for a single bronze statue of Artemis, her bow drawn, her gaze fierce and unyielding. A low altar sits before her, streaked with wax and scattered with dried myrtle leaves, their scent sharp in the confined space. The priestess points to a stone bench, and you sit, the surface cold through the chitin, your hands clasped to still their shaking. You've come, she says again, her voice low but resonant, like a bell tolling in the dark. But coming is not choosing. The goddess demands your heart, your will, your truth. Can you give that? Her words are a blade, cutting through the fog of your fear. You want to ask what she means, what Artemis wants, but your throat's tight. The Kikians pull a physical thing, tugging at your core. I don't know, you say, your voice hoarse, honest. The priestess's lips curve, not a smile, but acknowledgement, and she steps closer, her presence filling the room. Few do at first, she says, but the goddess does not accept half measures. You'll train with the acolytes, learn her rites, her songs, her silences. Your past, your brothel, your men will be burned away. You'll be hers, or you'll be nothing. The words land like stones, each one sinking into you. Freedom from the brothel, from Phryne's whip, from the endless grind of survival. It's what you've dreamed of in fleeting moments between clients and chores. But this isn't freedom. It's a new kind of servitude, one cloaked in holiness, but no less demanding. You think of Chloe's defiance, her knife a spark in the dark, and Irene's fragile hope, her prayers a lifeline. Can you leave them behind, erase them as the priestess demands? And what of yourself, the woman who survived, who's laughed with Chloe, wept with Irene, endured the unendurable? Can you burn that away and still be you? The priestess watches, her eyes searching, and you realize she's waiting, not for an answer, but for a sign, a crack in your resolve. You'll begin now, she says, and gestures to a clay bowl on the altar. filled with a dark liquid that smells of herbs and earth, a twin to the Kikian. Drink again, bind yourself fully, or leave and face the consequences. Her voice is calm, but there's a steel beneath it, a reminder that refusal has a price. You hesitate, your hands clenching, the chitin's folds crumpling under your fingers. The statue of Artemis looms, her bronze eyes cold, her bow a promise of pursuit. You're trapped, the choice no choice at all, but you're not ready to surrender. Not yet. You stand, the bench scraping against the floor, and meet the priestess's gaze. I need time, you say, your voice steadier than you feel. Her eyes narrow, but she nods, a slight tilt of her head. Until dusk, she says. No longer. The goddess is patient, but not indulgent. She turns, her robe sweeping the floor, and leaves you alone with the statue, the bowl, the weight of your own heart. You sink back onto the bench, your breath ragged, the air thick with the altar scent. The chanting continues, a distant hum, and you feel Artemis's presence, not as a comfort, but as a hunter circling her prey. The day passes in a strange, suspended haze. You're given a simple meal, barley bread, olives, a cup of watered wine, served by a silent acolyte whose eyes never meet yours. The bread soft, the olives plump, a stark contrast to the brothel's stale crusts, but it tastes like ash, your stomach roiling with the choice ahead. You're taken to a courtyard, smaller than the brothel's but cleaner, its stone tiles warm under the midday sun. Acolytes move through it, their white robes bright, their movements precise as they tend herbs or carry offerings. They don't speak to you, but their glances are sharp, curious, some tinged with pity. You're an outsider here, marked by the brothel stains, even in the temple's pristine chitin. A senior acolyte, her hair streaked with gray, approaches, her face kind but guarded. Walk with me, she says, and you follow. The courtyard's herbs brushing your legs, their scent sharp and green. She leads you to a grove beyond the temple, a cluster of olive trees twisted by time, their leaves silver in the sunlight. This is where we pray, she says, her voice soft but firm, where we listen to the goddess. You nod, unsure what she expects, and she gestures to the ground. Sit. Feel her. You obey, the earth warm through the chitin. The grove's silence a stark contrast to the city's noise. You close your eyes, trying to sense something, anything, but all you feel is your own fear, your own defiance, the pull of Chloe and Irene back in the brothel. The acolyte watches, her presence steady, but not comforting. You're not like us, she says, not unkindly, but you could be. The goddess chooses the broken, the lost, and makes them whole. But you must let go. Her words are a mirror, reflecting the parts of you that cling to the brothel, to your past, to the woman you've become. You want to ask how she let go, what she lost, but the question dies on your lips. She rises, leaving you in the grove, the olive trees whispering in the breeze, their shadows long and jagged. Dusk comes too soon, the sky a bruise of purple and gold. You're brought back to the chamber, the statue of Artemis waiting, the bowl untouched. The priestess is there, her face unreadable, her bangles glinting in the lamplight. Your answer, she says, and it's not a question. You stand, the chitin heavy, your heart a storm. You think of Chloe's knife, Irene's prayers, the brothel's mud, the temple stone. You think of yourself, the woman who survived, who's fought, who's still here. And you realize the choice isn't about Artemis or the brothel. It's about who you'll be when the sun rises. You open your mouth, the words forming, but before you can speak, a commotion erupts outside. A shout, the clash of metal, a woman's voice, sharp and fierce. Chloe, your heart lurches, and you run, the priestess's shout lost in the chaos. The corridor blurs, the chanting falters, and you burst into the courtyard, where Chloe stands, her knife bloodied, an acolyte clutching a wounded arm. Irene's behind her, pale but defiant, a stolen dagger in her hand. We're not leaving you, Chloe says, her voice a growl, her eyes blazing. The priestess appears, her face a mask of fury, and the world tilts. The choice no longer yours alone. The temple courtyard is a storm of chaos, the air sharp with the metallic tang of blood and the acrid bite of fear. Chloe stands at its center, her knife dripping red, her chest heaving as she faces down the temple guards, their spears glinting like fangs in the torchlight. Irene behind her, clutching a stolen dagger, her face pale but her eyes fierce, a spark of defiance you've never seen in her before. The priestess looms at the courtyard's edge, her white robe stark against the night, her face a mask of fury and something deeper, betrayal, perhaps, or the cold certainty of divine will. You're frozen, the white chitin clinging to your sweat-damp skin, the Kikian's bitter pulse still thrumming in your veins. The choice you were about to make, temple or brothel, Artemis or survival, has been shattered by Chloe's bloodied blade and Irene's trembling courage. Now, the world is collapsing, and you're at its heart. The guards advance, their steps measured, their spears lowered. The acolytes have scattered, their chants silenced, leaving only the crackle of torches and the ragged breathing of your small rebellion. Chloe's eyes meet yours, wild but unyielding, and she shouts, "Run, damn you!" But your feet are rooted, the mud and stone anchoring you to this moment. Irene's hand brushes yours, her dagger shaking, but held high, and you realize they're here for you, not just to save you, but to fight for the life you've all scraped together in the brothel shadows. The priestess raises a hand, her bangles clinking like a death knell, and the guards pause, waiting for her command. "You defy the goddess," she says, her voice cutting through the chaos, directed at you. "And you drag them into your ruin." Her words are a blade, slicing through the haze of adrenaline. You see it now, the maw of Athens, its gods and men, its temples and brothels, all designed to grind you down until nothing remains. Survival here isn't just hard, it's impossible. A rigged game where every choice costs a piece of your soul. The temple offers purity, but demands your past. The brothel offers familiarity, but chews you up. Chloe and Irene stand with you, their loyalty a fragile shield. But even that comes at a price. You've understood, finally, why living in this world is a death sentence, not because of the physical toll, but because it forces you to choose between betraying yourself or betraying those you love. You step forward, placing yourself between Chloe and the guards, your heart pounding, but your voice steady. "Let them go," you say, locking eyes with the priestess. "I'll stay. I'll serve your goddess." But they walk away unharmed. Chloe curses, her knife flashing as she grabs your arm. "Don't you dare," she growls, but you shake her off, your gaze never leaving the priestess. Irene sobbing now, her dagger clattering to the ground, but she doesn't move, her loyalty chaining her to you. The priestess tilts her head, her eyes narrowing, weighing your offer. "You'd give yourself for them?" she asks, her voice laced with something you can't read, curiosity or perhaps respect. The goddess values sacrifice, but not weakness. It's a test, another trap, but you're done playing by their rules. You think of the brothel's mud, the agora's sneers, the banquet's leers, the bath's fleeting respite. You think of Chloe's laughter, Irene's dreams, the small joys you've stolen from a world that gives you nothing. And you think of yourself, not the broken girl Athens sees, but the woman who's survived, who's fought, who's still standing. The Kikian burns in you, Artemis's claim, but you're more than her pawn, more than the brothel's tool. You're a spark, and you'll burn before you let them snuff you out. No, you say, the word a blade of your own. I won't give myself. Not to you, not to the brothel, not to this city. The priestess's face hardens, the guard shifting, but you keep going, your voice rising, raw and unbroken. You call this sacrifice? It's theft. You take our bodies, our choices, our lives, and call it divine. I'm done. We're done. You grab Chloe's hand, Irene's too, their warmth grounding you, and you face the priestess, the guards, the goddess herself. Kill us if you want, but we're not yours. The courtyard falls silent, the torches hissing, the guards frozen, the priestess's eyes boring into you. For a moment, you think it's over, that the spears will pierce you, that Artemis's arrow will find its mark. But then the priestess laughs, a low, chilling sound that echoes off the stone. "Bold," she says, her voice almost admiring, "but foolish." The goddess does not release her chosen. She raises her hand, and the guards move, but not toward you, toward Chloe and Irene, their spears aimed at their throats. Your heart lurches, the choice you thought you'd made unraveling. You can't save them, not like this, not with words or defiance alone. Chloe acts first, her knife flashing as she lunges at the nearest guard, her scream a war cry. Irene scrambles for her dagger, her movements clumsy but desperate. You dive into the fray, no weapon but your fists, your rage, your need to protect them. The courtyard erupts, blood and mud, and torchlight blurring into a nightmare. You feel a spear graze your arm, the pain sharp but distant, your focus on Chloe's struggling form, Irene's terrified cry. The priestess watches, unmoving, her face a mask of divine indifference. And you hate her, hate Artemis, hate Athens for making you fight for every breath. The fight is brutal, short, and hopeless. Chloe's knife finds a guard's thigh, but another slams his spears, but into her head, sending her sprawling. Irene's tackled, her dagger skittering across the stone, her screams muffled as a guard pins her. You're grabbed, your arms wrenched behind you, the chitin tearing as you struggle. The priestess steps forward, her bangles clinking, her voice calm amid the chaos. "Enough," she says, and the guards stop, their grip unyielding. "You've chosen," she tells you, her eyes cold. "Not the temple, not the brothel, but death. So be it." But death doesn't come, not yet. The priestess gestures and you're dragged, along with Chloe and Irene, to a cell beneath the temple, its walls damp and reeking of mold, the air thick with despair. You're thrown in, the iron gate slamming shut, the sound a final note in your rebellion. Chloe's bleeding, her head wound stark against her pale skin, but she's conscious, her eyes blazing. Irene's curled up, sobbing, but she reaches for you, her hand finding yours. You sit together, the stone cold, the darkness absolute, and you realize this is it, the end of a road, the price of defiance. You've understood, now, why survival in Athens is impossible. It's not just the brothel's grind or the temple's chains. It's the city itself, its gods and men, its hunger for your soul. You could have bowed to Artemis, erased your past, become her acolyte. You could have returned to Phryne, endured the clients, clung to Chloe and Irene's small joys. But you chose neither, because both were betrayal, of yourself, of them, of the spark that kept you alive. And now, here in this cell, you face the final moral choice, to despair or to hold fast to who you are, even as the world crushes you. You choose the latter. You pull Chloe and Irene close, their warmth a defiance of the cold, their breathing a rebellion against the dark. "We're still here," you whisper, your voice steady despite the tears burning your eyes. They can't take that. Chloe laughs, a broken sound, and squeezes your hand. "Damn right," she says, her voice weak but fierce. Irene nods, her sobs quieting, her grip tightening. You sit there, 3 women against an empire, and you know you've lost, but you've won something too, a moment of truth, a refusal to break. The guards will come, or the priestess, or Artemis herself. The end is near, but you're not afraid, not anymore. You've seen the maw of Athens, and you've spat in its face. As the cell's darkness wraps around you, you lean back, your head against the stone, and whisper to the night, to the viewers beyond the screen, to the world that's forgotten you. Sleep well, my friends. Dream of freedom, but don't expect it. The gods are watching, and they're hungrier than you think. Good night.